It's certainly the first time since they joined the Big Ten. But man, it's unbelievable how they shut down Genty. They knew it. That was a big part, and they made their quarterback try to make plays. And he's not best suited, especially that. I did see one thing before we go to the phone lines about this, Jason. I saw Boise State come after Drew Aller as much as they could, and I think if you're Notre Dame or Georgia, whoever wins that game tomorrow, that's probably the best thing to do, because if you get into his grill a little bit, you can force some bad throws. They sacked him quite a bit. I don't think they have the defensive secondary, Boise State I'm talking about, that maybe Notre Dame or Georgia has. But the point is, it's like anything. If you blitz quarterbacks and you get to them, you could rattle some things and make a turnover here and there, too.
You can, but Penn State's offensive line was really good against Boise State, too. I mean, that could be the key to keeping Drew Aller clean. I thought the receivers gave him enough. That's been a trouble spot for Penn State all season. And how about Tyler Warren? I mean, just absolutely incredible to catch in the back of the end zone. Aller finding Amari Evans for a big connection. But, yeah, they can come after Drew Aller. I have seen him at various points this season, though. They do better when they're more aggressive, when they're up-tempo, when they're throwing the ball downfield. When they kind of throttle it back, that's when you see Drew Aller struggling.
The throw to Evans was his best, I thought, right on the money in the back of the end zone. The one that, obviously when you're going to go to Warren, it makes it a little easier because he's so tall. He gets up there and does that. All right, a lot of phone calls. Let's get to them, beginning with Andrew in Pittsburgh, our number one Cochrane Go One Better caller of the night, or maybe not. And what's up, Andrew? How are you?
Good, Bob. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I was going to talk about the targeting call, but I think you went over that pretty well.
But you agree with it, though? It should have been called targeting.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I was shocked, like literally jaw dropped. But I want to go and talk about the Penn State game then, because right before the half, 14-7, they throw that deep ball. The Penn State D-back tackles that guy. And I believe you probably tweeted about it too, but it's like you see that it's so blatant offensive pass interference or defensive pass interference or offensive pass interference, I'm sorry, and no one calls it.
Yeah, there were a couple of calls that I thought were a little bit questionable. Going back to that one, it seems like OPI isn't called nearly as much as DPI, although, in the game today, I thought maybe Scatterboo on that one big reception he made, I thought he could have pushed off a little bit too, Jason.
Yep.
They didn't call that. They called a face mask. They called two penalties against Texas on that same play. The second was well-deserved. But it is difficult to get that OPI call.
It is, and I hate making this about officiating, Bob. It should be about the players on the field, but we saw this in a lot of Pitt's games this season, just how horrendous the officiating has gotten. And not just bang-bang plays, not just OPI pushing off, or did a guy get there too early, did he not look back? I mean, just the operation of games. That's a little bit more what we saw, procedural things in Pitt season, not to pivot away from Penn State. But, yeah, I agree with the caller. I mean, absolutely could have been an offensive pass interference, should have been an offensive pass interference. The targeting one, though, was the most egregious of the college football playoffs so far.
It makes you wonder what that guy was looking. Whoever's making that call needs to explain why, because there is no good explanation in my view. Let's go to Daryl in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Hello, Daryl.
Hi, Plum. And
the other guy,
Jason.
About the Penn State game, and I have a prediction for you. In the final, it's going to be Penn State against Ohio State, and Penn State's going to win 30-28.
And then forever, Penn State fans who hate James Franklin or want him out of there, whatever the reason, will have nothing that they can deal with. I don't know if they're going to go that far. 2 more wins. Who do you think is a better matchup? First things first, Jason. Is it going to be Notre Dame or Georgia? And it's sad, by the way, that they had to move the game because of this heinous, just reprehensible attack this morning, a terror attack. We saw 2 of them today. It's something that needs to be taken under control a lot more in our society. And they did the smart thing, I think, in postponing that game. But that's a side note. Let's talk about, who do you think their best matchup is?
Yeah, I'd probably go with Georgia, Bob, but I don't think Georgia's going to win just because of Carson Beck being out for the season. Trying to think of the backup's name for Georgia, but he'll be making his first start whenever he does. He had, I think, 51 career pass attempts, something like that. Just the inexperience at such a key position, I think. But, I think Notre Dame's going to win that game. I worry about the matchup, frankly. Riley Leonard has played very well. Jeremiah Love has played very well. That doesn't bode terribly great for Penn State. But I do think Penn State can beat Notre Dame. Now, can they beat Ohio State? that worries me, and not just because of James Franklin's history against Ohio State, but I think Ohio State could run the table on this whole thing. Whatever happened in that Michigan loss, I think jiggled something loose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they'd be underdogs, there's no question. But just to get to that point, should silence some of James Franklin's critics.
Oh, they should be silenced now.
Well, some will tell you the road was so easy that they should have won both games. But I'll disagree with that.
They're in the Final Four.
That's what I said. But you hear that, don't you? People say, well, look, they got this wonderful draw where Oregon had to go with Ohio State after, the system needs to be fixed a little bit. But the fact is they took care of whatever schedule they had, and they made SMU look bad, where SMU ran Pitt out of the building. So, depends on how you want to look at it. 412-575-2600. Brian in Brockway is up next. Hello, Brian. How are you?
I'm fantastic. First-time caller.
Appreciate you.
All right.
Couple of questions and a comment. How'd they ever let Brian Flores get away?
And comment, go ahead.
And how come certain quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes last week, seems like everybody's open on the field and Russell Wilson's running for his life?
Well, that has a lot to do with defenses you played. They're better defenses, and their offensive line, as the season has gone on, has not been as effective for the Steelers. As far as the first one, Jason, I think they should have kept Brian Flores around. I really liked him. I got to know him a little bit. I thought his, the way he handles defensive game plans, you see it now in Minnesota. They had Terrell Austin here, and I think Mike Tomlin was loyal to him. But, man, somehow I would have figured out a way to keep him.
Yeah, and I don't blame Brian Flores for seeking an opportunity. It was a bigger job or a bigger role than he was going to have here. I worry about that in the context of Mike Tomlin, Pomp. Mike Tomlin does not have a coaching tree. That's something that's been really talked about a lot over the past 10 days. Brian Flores would be a perfect one that you bring in here and allow to coordinate your defense for a couple years. Same thing he's doing now. And he's going to get a head coaching job somewhere, and he's probably going to do very well. But did Mike Tomlin prevent that because he didn't want to feel threatened, because he didn't want his defense to go by the wayside? I don't know the answer to that question, but that's my suspicion.
Well, if it is, then, he's 18 years in the job. I think he's earned his stripes. He shouldn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. But if that was the case, that's not the right way to do it. I think you want to keep as many, good minds around here. And I think Brian Flores, what he's done in Minnesota, has been pretty noticeable from the 31st ranked defense when he took it over to where it is now. Jason, Pittsburgh was a 3-point underdog, now just a 1.5, it seems. So are you of the belief that the Steelers are going to win this game on Saturday? Because at the start of the week, I wasn't so sure. Your thoughts?
No, I don't think they are, Bob. I worry about Joe Burrow. I worry about T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. I don't see who the Steelers have to cover these guys. And, the Steelers might be able to score on the Bengals' defense. Are they going to be able to produce enough points to do anything to come out of here with the win? And I don't think so. Maybe they win a playoff game in Houston. I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't see them winning on Saturday. And they may be resting starters in the second half. Who the heck knows? But I don't see them being able to stop Cincy.
4-game losing streak is not the way you want to end the postseason. It's sort of similar to the way Pitt's season collapsed after 7 wins to end with 6 losses. Now, hopefully they can turn it around, but Joe Burrow is a tough assignment. I heard him yesterday say that he understands why he won't be the MVP of the league, but he thinks maybe that he should be. In time, he will be. So I think that's interesting to see. But 42 touchdowns, 8 interceptions is hard not to notice. Jason, thank you very much again. Happy New Year to you.
Same to you, Bob. Thanks.
All right, Jason Mackey of the Post-Gazette. I'm Bob Pompeani. See you at 11 o'clock on KDKA. And once again, wishing you all the best in 2025.